Welcome back. All right, Zdeno Chara retires from the National Hockey League today. So, of course, I have to do a career video on Zdeno Chara. One of my all-time favorite Boston Bruins, right? He was a number 56 pick back in 1996. And not a lot was expected of him, really, in all honesty. And a lot of it was, look how big this guy is when he made his debut. 97, 98, he makes his debut for the Islanders. He just had the one assist in 25 games. Didn't play a lot. And honestly, again, there really wasn't any indication of what was to come. So 98, 99, he plays 59 games with the Islanders, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. And again, the offense isn't there. The physicality's there. There's some penalty minutes with him. He does retire as he was the active leader in all-time penalty minutes. Now he's retired, so the active lead goes to someone else. I believe he's 47th on the all-time list with penalty minutes because they're not what they used to be. But he could fight, he could hit, and that was something we knew about him early on. 99, 2000, 65 games played, 2 goals, 9 assists, 11 points. So he's making some advances, but then 2000, 2001, it felt like he was kind of going backwards. In 82 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points. So he's a big player, and he hits, but the New York Islanders want something a little more flashy, right? For Mike Milbury, he wants more success as a team. And with Chara, I guess he didn't see whatever Ottawa did, right? He is traded on June 23rd of 2001 to the Ottawa Senators, along with the 2001 first-round pick, which becomes Jason Spezza, as well as Bill McCult. And in exchange, he gets back Alexei Yashin. It is a trade that buries Mike Milbury eventually. And it is really held up as one of the worst trades in history because you get Spezza, you get Chara. Oddly enough, both players have retired this year. But yeah, and Bill McCult was okay. But yeah, Yashin going the other way, that was a win for Ottawa. Yashin's time in Ottawa needed to end, and it did. He goes to the Islanders, and Chara ends up with the Sens. So 01-02, his first year with Ottawa, the offense starts to show up in 75 games, 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points, and in the playoffs, 1 assist in 10 games. And a lot of buzz right away about how much better he looks as a Senator. Now, this is where the question comes in. If he had stayed with the New York Islanders, does that season happen? Does he have that breakthrough? Or would he have continued to struggle? 2002, 2003, 74 games played, 9 goals, 30 assists, 39 points. In the playoffs, 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points in 18 games. So the Sens doing pretty well in the playoffs. Yashin is not. He goes to the All-Star game that year, and he's 7th in Norris voting. So this is right where Islander fans are getting kind of angry that there's a top 10 Norris guy that's gone and all that fun stuff along with Spezza. 93-94 in 79 games, 16 goals, 25 assists, 41 points. An absolutely booming shot from the point for Chara. An underrated part of his game at points during his career. He was dangerous on so many levels. 10 games in the playoffs, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. Or 7 games in the playoffs in 04. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. He's a first-team All-Star, and he's 2nd in Norris voting that year. Then, 05-06, 71 games, 16 goals, 27 assists, 43 points. In the playoffs, this is the year he had a goal and 3 assists for 4 points in 10 games. He's a 2nd-team All-Star, and he's 4th in Norris voting. But the Islanders have a problem. The Islanders have a problem, and we can get into those later. The Senators, at this point, have a problem. The Senators' problem is a simple one. They don't have enough money to pay for both Redden and Chara. They have to make a choice between Wade Redden and Zdeno Chara. And at the time, it looked like a difficult decision. At the time, as somebody who followed the Sens closely, I wasn't sure who they'd pick. In the end, they decide that they're going to keep Redden and they're going to let Chara go. Chara signs a huge deal with the Boston Bruins on July 1st of 2006. One that I thought he had some struggles living up to that first season. 06, 07. It's because I'm used to doing the career videos of guys who played in the 80s. So 86, 87 has just become part of my everyday vocabulary. But 06, 07 and 80 games, 11 goals, 32 assists, 43 points. He did play in the All-Star game that year, doesn't finish top 10 in Norris voting. And there were definitely discussions after that first season about whether or not maybe the Bruins overpaid a little bit for Chara. And was this a contract that was going to work for them? But in 07-08, he puts that to rest. In 77 games, he has 17 goals, 34 assists, 51 points. The points total doesn't rise that much, but his play really did. In the playoffs, 7 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. He was in the All-Star game. He was a second-team All-Star from the National Hockey League perspective, and he's third in Norris voting. So he still hasn't won a Norris Trophy, but he's been top 3 in Norris voting twice, top 4 in Norris voting 3 times. He is one of the best defensemen in the league. And 08-09, he has arguably his best season in 80 games, 19 goals, 31 assists, 50 points. In the playoffs, 11 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. He plays in the All-Star game. He wins the Norris Trophy, first-team All-Star, and he's 8th in the Hart voting. That's the only season where he's top 10 in voting for the Hart Trophy, which, of course, is rare for defensemen to win. 2009-2010, he has a bit of a fallback here in 80 games, 7 goals, 37 assists, 44 points. In the playoffs, he adds 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points in 13 games. He finishes 8th in Norris voting that year. So goes from winning it to being 8th in the Norris voting. 2010-2011, he picks it back up in 81 games, 14 goals, 30 assists, 44 points. But the important thing here for Chara isn't getting back to Norris Trophy form. It's getting a different trophy, getting the Stanley Cup trophy. And they do that this year. In 24 games, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points. He was fantastic throughout that run for the Bruins. They win the Stanley Cup. He goes to the All-Star game. He won the Mark Messier Award for leadership. He's a second-team All-Star, and he's third in Norris voting. Pretty good year for Chara right there. 2011-2012, in 79 games, 12 goals, 40 assists for 52 points, which is a career high. 52 points right there. 7 games in the playoffs, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. Plays in the All-Star game. He's a second-team All-Star, finishes third in Norris voting. So he's still top 3 in Norris voting. He's one of the best defensemen in the league. Then we have 2012-2013, lockout shortened season. He plays all 48 games. 7 goals, 12 assists, 19 points. In the playoffs, the Bruins go all the way to the Stanley Cup final. He plays 22 games, has 3 goals, 12 assists, 15 points. As good as he was in the 2011 run, I thought he was better in the 2013 run. He finishes 5th in Norris voting. Sadly, to me as a Bruins fan anyways, no Stanley Cup for the Bruins in 2013. Thanks, Chicago. 2014, well, 13-14 season. 77 games played, 17 goals, 23 assists, 40 points. In the playoffs, 12 games played, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. He's a first-team All-Star, and he was second in Norris voting. So, nice to see that points aren't always the deciding factor in who gets the Norris votes, right? But 2014-2015, he only plays 63 games that year, 8 goals, 12 assists, 20 points, and this is where his play starts to fall off. And it becomes a conversation once you get to 2015-2016. His scoring is decent, 80 games played, 9 goals, 28 assists, 37 points, no playoffs as the Bruins go through a bit of an adjustment when it comes to their roster and everything. But yeah, and not playoffs necessarily for those 2 seasons, but Chara's play has fallen off from where it was. He can't stay at that Norris level forever. He's still a very good defenseman, though. 2016-2017 in 75 games, 10 goals, 19 assists, 29 points. In the playoffs, he adds 1 assist in 6 games. The first game that I went to was during that season in Vancouver against the Boston Bruins. And yeah, that was the first game that I had been to since Montreal was in to play Vancouver in 1981. So it had been a while, and I wanted that first game to be against Boston, and my lovely wife was kind enough to get us tickets, and so we went. And so I got to see Chara in person, and I have to say that as big as he is, 6'9", and then you put a pair of skates on him, and he's about 8 foot or something. The guy, it really, you can see all the pictures online you want. He's bigger than you think. Anyways, in the playoffs that year, 1 assist in 6 games. Then we move on to 2017-2018. In 73 games, 7 goals, 17 assists, 24 points. In the playoffs, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points in 12 games. 2018-2019, as we see that his play has dropped off, right? 62 games, 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points. But then in the playoffs, they go on a run, 23 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. Famously, he gets injured during that playoff run and decides to come back and sit on the bench rather than get injuries taken care of. I believe it was a broken jaw. But it showed that he was a warrior and he was a captain and he was the leader of this team, right? 2019-2020 in 68 games played, 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points, so he equals his points total. At this point, though, the points aren't really all that important. In the playoffs, he adds 2 assists in 13 games. but he wants to play. So the Bruins basically offered him a contract, but they made it clear that he was going to be in a supporting role and not relied upon as he had been before. Boston understand he'd lost a step, and he opts to part ways with the Boston Bruins. No hard feelings on either side that I ever saw. 2020, 2021, he's with the Capitals, as he signed with them on December 30th of 2020. 55 games played of the 56-game season, 2 goals, 8 assists, 10 points. No points in 5 playoff games as the Capitals get knocked out in the first round. And then September 18th of this past year, he signs with the New York Islanders, so he goes back home, and he ends up having a goal. So it's the longest period of time between goals for a player with one franchise, I think, in history. 72 games, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points. No playoffs, of course, for the Islanders this year. In total, he plays 1,680 games, which is 7th on the all-time list. 209 goals, 471 assists for 680 points. Plays 200 playoff games, 18 goals, 52 assists, 70 points, and saved some of his best hockey for the playoffs. He was a big hitter. I know there was always the controversy about his hit on Pacioretty. I remember when that took place. It was a scary hit. Thankfully, Pacioretty's career would resume at a later date. But yeah, Chara was a big guy. And there were times where it felt like maybe he didn't understand his own size and his own speed and just what kind of impact he had on players. But he was one of the better defensemen of his generation. And I do see him as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I would expect that as soon as he's eligible, I can add this to the Hall of Fame players playlist. But for now, I'll just put it under the career playlist. I'm not going to add him to the THG Hall of Fame because he doesn't need to be in there. He's going to make the real one. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.